Welcome to all of you who are listening and joining in this evening. And welcome to all the panelists. We are very honored to have distinguished panelists this evening. So we are going to start this webinar about the God and the family, the foundation for peace. This is a very important topic, and we are grateful that thank you for coming, taking this time to be with us. So there will be some translation. There will be some translation in Spanish when it's English speaking, and then translation will be in English when it's Spanish speaking. Because we have only one translator, then for those who speak English, when it will be the time to hear translation from Spanish to English, then at the bottom there is interpretation, and then you will have to put Spanish because it's only one channel. So we are going to have our first person going to give some welcome remark. This is Dr. Charles Young. He is the president of the UPF for Central America and the Caribbean. He is also president of the Washington Times Foundation, and he served as vice chair of the board of directors of the University of Bridgeport in the United States. He is also vice president of the Sun Moon University in Korea. Since 2001, he has led the steering committee of the UPF's Middle East Peace Initiative, which entails various interfaith programs aimed at building bridges of mutual understanding and respect and cooperation between the Jews, Christian, and Muslim, as well as people of diverse faith tradition. At the same time, Dr. Young was the founding president of the American Clergy Leadership Conference, which fosters mutual understanding and cooperation among more than 20,000 religious leaders throughout the United States. So we are very honored to have Dr. Young. Please, let's welcome Dr. Young.
Thank you, Reverend Tapia, for your generous introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, ambassadors for peace, good evening. The peace, shalom, assalamu alaikum. Thank you for attending this conference despite your busy schedules. The COVID-19 pandemic, which started at the end of 2019, shocked the entire human society, from individuals, family, society, nation, and the whole world. The pandemic created a new pattern of non-face-to-face society, where everyone has to wear a mask, increasing mistrust and fear, leading to the distance even between families. No more face-to-face work. Even church services stopped. No more face-to-face education even for almost 3 years. Social gatherings were not allowed. But real trust and love can only be built when people work and meet together face-to-face, eye to eye. So fortunately, we are seeing the end of pandemic. And the schools, churches, mosques have started again in person services and worships. I just heard most of Caribbean nations are welcoming without any COVID-19 test anymore. The most important thing for human growth is education, but an education that is served by an institution, and each course is guided by teachers or professors. Home is the most fundamental and basic educational place. Naturally, the first teacher are the father and the mother at home. In order to grow into a more professional person, we need to develop important expertise through middle and high schools, and finally through the college and university system. Education can be achieved through academic and technical curriculum, but it's not enough as children grow to become adults. It's more important and essential that they develop a good character and good personality. We need educational institutions that can provide both good technical education and, more importantly, a good character education. Dr. and Mrs. Sun Myung Moon, co-founders of the Universal Peace Federation International, have established educational institutions in many countries around the world. The school's mottos are all the same, based on 3 key pointers. The first, respect to God. Second, love people. And third, love your country. Love God, love people, and love your country. So furthermore, the most important essence of the character education is to teach how to live for the sake of others, not self-centered. Parents live for the sake of for children. Children live for the sake of their parents. Furthermore, families are for the society, and society should contribute to the world. According to the Bible, the ideal of God's creation in the Garden of Eden was to form an ideal family centered on God. When an individual who resembles God forms a family and expands into a clan, a society, a nation, and a world that resemble God, eventually a true ideal world will be established. Therefore, the ideal family centered on God is the basis of the peace and the ideal world. The invisible image of God's love appears as a parent at home. If the ideal family expands, it becomes an ideal society. If the ideal society expands, it becomes an ideal country. The most important thing in the family is the true love of a parent. The parent's love is a heart that gives unconditionally and sacrifices for their children. So in the Oriental world, we learn to serve our parent as if we were serving God. Father Moon taught us that the relationships between God and the humans are relationships of parent and children. That is why he named the church as a family church. Recently, Mother Moon transformed the church name into Heavenly Parents Holy Community. There can be no enemy when looking at the world with a parental heart. If Russia had a parental heart, could it attack Ukraine? If Russia had an elder brother's heart, would it be possible to attack younger brother Ukraine? So Father Moon said that churches and mosques should be the training centers, schools and educational places for heavenly life. Therefore, pastors, imams, and priests are in parents' position to their members and congregations. Likewise, in the country, the heads of state are in parent position for their people. So it is most important for leaders to have parental heart. The essence of the parental heart means giving and forget and endless sacrifice with love for others. The most basic foundation of love and sacrifice comes from the heart of parent. That is why parental heart is the fundamental basis of peace in individual, family, society, nation, and the world. At the same time, we need to implement the importance of the education of the conscience. Father Moon taught that the conscience knows about what we want to do before our teachers or before our parents. So if we could listen to our conscience, it could replace even God's commanders. Through education, people around the globe recognize that we are one family under one God, beyond color, nationalities, and cultures. God is in the parent position of all humankind and is color blind. I hope that today's panelists from each religion will present great insights and will give us great wisdom for a better society and world for all. Today we have four great panelists: Imam Ammar from Panama, Father Joseph from St. Lucia, Reverend Wilber from Honduras, especially Reverend Bruce Grodin from New York. Actually, he is the Secretary General of World Clergy Leadership Conference. This become one of the great, powerful Christian association, throughout the world. We will expecting a little more detailed explanation from him. Once again, thank you very much. May God bless you. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Dr. Young. Let's a round of applause for Dr. Young. Thank you for reminding us that we should have parental love and that God is also a parent. Thank you so much. And now we are going to have a short video giving some introduction about UPF and the different organizations that UPF has started. And the two main association is the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, and then the other one is the International Association for Peace and Development with religious leaders. So let's listen to this video.
There's no sound.
There's no sound, yes.
UPF had its inaugural assembly on September 12, 2005 at the Lincoln Center in New York City. The most recent structural innovation within UPF has been the creation of a set of associations dedicated to collaboration among leaders from various fields. These pillar associations are: the International Summit Council for Peace was initiated by UPF co-founder Dr. Hak Jahan Moon in 2019 on the occasion of World Summit 2019 in Seoul, Korea. ISCP is an international network of current and former heads of state and government. The International Association of First Ladies, IAFLP, a project of the ISCP, affirms and uplifts the unique role of First Ladies in contributing to peace and development. IAFLP brings together current and former First Ladies from throughout the world, drawing upon their experience and wisdom as women leaders and as role models who serve their countries in significant ways. The International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace, IAPP, is a worldwide association of parliamentarians which provides a forum to bring their experience and wisdom to bear in the search for solutions to our world's problems. UPF maintains that any successful strategy for peace must take into account the spiritual dimension of our human identity, experience, and interactions. Based on this worldview, UPF initiated the Interreligious Association for Peace and Development, IAPD. The International Media Association for Peace, IMAP, represents a worldwide professional network of journalists who support a socially responsible and moral media. IMAP recognizes the vital role that journalists play in providing objective reporting to foster an informed citizenship. The International Association of Academicians for Peace, IAAP, is a global interdisciplinary academic initiative aimed at contributing toward the realization of a world of lasting peace. IAAP is dedicated to building professional networks for academicians to foster a world of peace. The International Association for Peace and Economic Development, IAED, affirms the role of businesses, business leaders, and investors to make the world a better place. Celebrating 15 years, UPF will continue to grow through service, dialogue, and collaboration, guided by its spiritual and moral vision of one family under God.
Thank you very much. This shows an overview of what UPF is doing and the various, through these various associations, the Universal Peace Federation can reach out to all the various strata of the society, business and art and parliamentarians, head of states and religious leaders. Now we are going to have our first panelist, this Imam Ammar Ul-Nasir, and he will speak in Spanish. So I want to remind for those who are going to hear through the translation, you will have to go to the channel Spanish, not English. To hear the translation in English, you will have to go to the Spanish channel because we have only one translator that's doing both, that's why. So Imam Ammar Ul-Nasir is in charge of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community in Panama. He was born in Pakistan, but moved with his parents to Canada when he was 11 years old. He studied 7 years at Jamia Ahmadiyya University of Theology in Ontario, Canada, and graduated in 2015 with a master's degree. He has been a delegate in Ghana, in Mexico, in Paraguay, and Guatemala. And since 2018, he has been in Panama. So let's welcome Imam Ammar Ul-Nasir.
Muchísimas gracias por darme esta oportunidad. Y soy muy agradezco a los organizadores de esta comunidad, esta organización. Y voy a tocar este tema de Dios y familia. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. En el nombre de Allah, el clemente, el misericordioso. Hoy el doctor Charles ha mencionado algo sobre familia y el amor y es algo esencial para establecer paz en el mundo. El Islam también dice exactamente lo mismo. Voy a usar los mismos puntos, algunos de los puntos que el Dr. Charles ha usado. Primero, Islam, la palabra Islam significa paz. En toda la religión del Islam es basado con esa palabra. Y uno de los atributos de Dios es As-Salam, que significa la fuente de la paz. Si una persona tiene conexión con Dios, con esa fuente de la paz, tendremos paz. Si no hay conexión, no tendremos paz. Y vemos que hoy en día, porque esta conexión ha sido rotada y vemos mucha maldad en el mundo y guerras y todo eso está pasando por esta razón, porque esta conexión con Dios, con la fuente de la paz, ya no se existe. Uno de los dichos y para establecer paz, el santo profeta Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, la paz sea con él, dijo que hay que decir Assalamu alaikum, que la paz sea contigo. Y Adán también fue enseñado este tipo de saludo, esta oración, que diga esto a los ángeles, que eso sería la manera de saludar a la gente. Es una manera de establecer paz en la comunidad. Entonces, cada musulmán, cuando unimos, nosotros decimos, la paz sea contigo, la paz sea con ustedes, que todo lo que es el suyo está completamente seguro, que en tener toda esa protección, que yo no voy a dañar a nadie, nada de lo que es suyo, su propiedad, su familia y todo lo que es suyo. El santo profeta Muhammad dijo que el mejor entre de ustedes es el que es mejor en compartimiento con su esposa y su familia. Y si tratamos y seguimos este ejemplo, entonces tendremos paz en la casa. Y si hay paz en la casa, obviamente tendremos paz en esta comunidad que practica esa enseñanza y el más allá. Y hay que, en nuestro guía espiritual, el Jalifa de Islam actual dice que hay que cumplir las responsabilidades de los demás y a otras personas. Por ejemplo, hay que si cada persona cumple las responsabilidades de lo que tiene que hacer en su familia, no, otras personas no van a tratar de preguntar sobre sus derechos. Si padre y el madre cumplen sus responsabilidades que hacen su familia, hacia sus hijos, tendríamos paz en la casa. Y el santo profeta dijo que una persona preguntó al santo profeta una vez que ¿quién debo amar? El santo profeta dijo que debe amar a Allah, a Dios. Y después el santo profeta respondió que debe amar a su mensajero, al mensajero de Allah. Y después de esto la persona continúa preguntando la misma pregunta. Y después el mensajero dijo que a su madre. La persona compañero preguntó otra vez a quién debo amar después, dice su madre, y otra vez su madre, otra vez su madre, dijo 4 veces su madre, después dijo que es su padre. Entonces, amor para su madre es algo muy, muy especial en Islam. Si una persona, un niño que siempre nosotros hemos escuchado desde cuando estamos niños. Hemos siempre escuchado este dicho y siempre hemos tratado de respetar a nuestras madres y amar a nuestras madres más que todos. Y hay que también respetamos a nuestros padres también. Porque la madre está con sus niños y si seguimos y estamos obedientes a nuestra madre, entonces no podemos hacer nada mal, no podemos salir y hacer malas cosas con nuestros amigos o personas de la calle. Entonces, en esta casa hay paz, donde hay obediencia y amor para su madre. Y disciplina también viene a través del padre también. Y en el mundo, si vemos que en el mundo general que el Dr. Charles ha hablado sobre ese ataque de Rusia y está ocurriendo si había amor para otros, no había ocurrido. El Sagrado Corán, cada vez que habla sobre paz, habla de la justicia. Dice que sin justicia no tendremos, no podemos tener paz. Y entonces cada líder, cada gobierno tiene que practicar justicia. Sin justicia no hay paz. Y la justicia solo viene cuando hay una conexión con Dios, Dios que es el justo. Y otra cosa, el Sagrado Corán dice que para establecer si dos personas o dos naciones hay una pelea entre dos, el tercero debe tratar de calmar la situación a través de diálogo y no a través de ayudar o con armas o con misiles y ese tipo de cosas. Pero dice que a través de diálogo y paz y con amabilidad trata de resolver la solución. Y si uno de ellos que está en conflicto no escucha, entonces todas las naciones juntos deben juntar contra de la nación que es cruel o injusto hasta que ya no hay más injusticia, ya no hay más crueldad. Y no deben hacer esto para robar recursos naturales de los otros países que estaban en este conflicto. Nosotros vemos que hoy en día, cuando ya ese tipo de cosas, esas guerras han ocurrido, los países ricos han tomado los recursos naturales de los países pobres, ¿no? Y después hay problemas de financiera, muy grande problema, y hay mucha gente que están haciendo migración a otros países y hay más conflicto allá en otros países también. Entonces, Islam dice, si no seguimos con esa justicia, esa enseñanza de justicia, no podemos establecer paz en el mundo. Entonces, es responsabilidad de cada uno de nosotros que cada vez que hay este tipo de conflicto, debemos por sí mismo, o cada persona que tiene relaciones con las personas del gobierno que les escribimos cartas que tratan de resolver la situación solo a través de diálogo y ese tipo de medio para que la situación calma. Y nuestra comunidad hemos escrito cartas a Putin y a Vladimir Zelensky también para que traten de resolver ese problema, conflicto a través de diálogo. Lo mismo es para otros países donde hay conflictos. Es la última cosa, porque el tiempo es muy corto, última cosa que el Corán dice que solo está en... el Corán dice para establecer paz individualmente. El Corán dice que quienes creen y cuyos corazones hayan sosiego en el recuerdo de Allah. En el recuerdo de Allah es en lo que los corazones pueden hallar sosiegos. Entonces, si no hay esta conexión, no recordamos a Dios en nuestros corazones, no podemos tener paz en nuestra propia vida. Y no es algo que viene desde afuera, es algo que una persona crea luz en su dentro. Después, la luz del cielo se desciende. Entonces, muchas gracias para invitarme para hablar. Este tema es muy, muy largo. Hay muchos puntos en el Corán para establecer paz según las circunstancias. Entonces, solo estoy tocando muy, muy poco. Ese tema es muy, muy largo. Y como el Dr. Charles ha dicho que no vemos, no hay color, Dios no ve el color y todo eso. El Sagrado Corán dice que cada persona es igual, no hay diferencia entre los pobres y ricos y la persona que color oscuro o color blanco, de piel blanco. No hay diferencia entre eso. Entonces hay que tratar con igualdad a los demás, y cuando hay los refugiados de otros países hay que darles oportunidad, porque un país rico, los ricos no, sus riquezas depende del trabajo de los pobres. Sin este trabajo de los pobres, los ricos también van a perder todo lo que tienen. Entonces, Islam dice que para establecer paz hay que tratar a toda la gente con igualdad y no debes ser arrogante, porque la arrogancia destruye la paz de la sociedad. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Imam Amar. Thank you for coming and sharing your experience with us. We are very grateful for that. Thank you so much. Our next panelist will be Reverend Bruce Grodner. He's Secretary General of the World Christian Leadership Conference. The World Christian Leadership Conference seeks to build an alliance of Christian clergy under the guidance of God, our Heavenly Parent, upholding the ideal of the family, bringing nations together, and establishing one human family under God. Reverend Bruce Grodner is also the director for New York City for the National Council of Church and Social Action. It's a food distribution program that serves many nonprofit and community organizations in New York City. Welcome, Reverend Grodner.
Hear me, and can you, I will share my screen, if I may.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Why don't you make a full screen?
Yeah, I'll make it, okay, so you can see that, good, okay. Let me just remove this over here. Okay, and, okay. I want to begin by thanking Dr. Young. You know, I can only say thank you for the work that you've done in America over the many, many years that you did. And I can honestly say that the foundation of our work in America, in North America, with clergy, really was very much connected to you and your leadership here. So I want to say thank you and really appreciate that from, so we have an opportunity, I think a great opportunity, that we are neighbors. North America and Central America are neighbors. The Caribbean islands are neighbors. And we have many, many, many clergy living in the diaspora here from the Caribbean islands and also Central America. So I just like to begin. The founding of the WCLC was based on a 20-year foundation of the work of ACLC, the American Clergy Leadership Conference, and then on the foundation of the American Clergy Leadership Conference, a more newly formed organization was the Korean Clergy Leadership Conference. Then on that foundation, December 28th, 2019, the Christian Clergy Leadership Conference was founded. And so on that foundation, we began our work, and the work of the Christian Leadership Conference, has been, or the World Christian Leadership Conference has been one to really bring together the body of Christ and to unite Christianity. We know there's hundreds of denominations, and yet there's only one God. There's a number of Abrahamic faiths, but there's one God. And so the goal is to really help to bring us together. And so we have these some milestones that we really want to accomplish and want to fulfill. We just try to move this. Okay, so let me in the words of Mother and Father Moon. So True Father's work was to its ultimate conclusion, and this was an important milestone in that providence to really unite Christianity. So the World Christian Leadership Conference seeks to build an alliance of Christian clergy under the guidance of our Heavenly Parent, upholding the ideal of the family and bringing nations together and establishing one family under God. The mission, the World Christian Leadership Conference mission is to become a coalition of international clergy working together to bring peace and unity through applying God-centered principles and initiatives going beyond religion and race to establish a heavenly unified nation and world. So we're going to look at some of the tenets of WCLC. As Christian leaders, we join together to launch WCLC chapters throughout the world. And so under Dr. Kim, Q and Kim's leadership, each location or region or nation, we just want to support their work. So we're spreading the view of the heavenly Asia and Pacific civilizations, the key to building a heavenly nation and a heavenly unified world. We know certainly in North Korea and South Korea, they really are the epicenter of what is more spiritual and what is much more material in philosophical endeavor. So we know that is truly an epicenter for where we have to bring that unification. We build an alliance under our Heavenly Parents through WCLC. We are a movement to uphold the family and bring nations together through God's principle. So a little bit of the history and activity. We had a conference in 2000, a convocation in 2019, just almost the last day, just before really COVID hit, on December 27th. And from that convocation, we really didn't know what was going to happen, but we had a major event at the Prudential Center where some 25,000 clergy and faith community gathered together. Mother Moon gathered 40 people together, and of those 40 people, there were around 12 people who she appointed as part of the steering committee. So this was her appointing some of the steering committee members. You're hereby appointed as a member of the steering committee of the World Christian Leadership Conference, WCLC, an organization launched to promote the realization of an ideal world of peace, a world where the ideal of one family under Heavenly Parent, humanity's vertical parent, is realized. On December 28th, 2019, the World Christian Leadership Conference was officially launched. And everybody had a chance to sign a declaration and a real determination. So we are, and we've been working with Archbishop Chrysostomos Sile, who is from Central America, and he is a brilliant, brilliant man, and such a heart towards this process and helping with this process of unification. And these are the original steering committee members from various regions of the world. So just like in the Bible, our mission is to really go out into the world and really preach the gospel to every creature. Stated in Mark 1:20, they went forth, preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word with signs following. And then in John 13:35, we see that the disciples, we're really to represent Christ, his love towards one another. And that's, I believe, what converted so many people along the way was the love that they experienced through the early disciples. So we didn't go out so much to the highways and the byways, but because of the pandemic, we had many conferences and meetings on Zoom where we actually had these various regions of the world, Middle East and Europe, Latin America, Korea. We had a unified one. We had one in Japan. We had one in Africa, where we coalesced religious leaders from those continents. So we've been having these every month, at least one a month. And our goal is to have at least one in each region a month, and then have a unified one as well, each every third month. We had a unique essay contest where those that were able to read Mother Moon's memoir, we had incredible testimonies, contest winners sharing their thought, how their lives actually changed from reading the Mother of Peace memoir. These were the three candidates that first, second, and third place. I'm sorry, we had one from, I believe, South America, Peru. Maybe next time someone from Central America. And then on the foundation of the organizations, like in each continent, they started their own, whether it be a WCLC affiliate organization, such as WCLC Canada. They wanted to use this name, and that was fine. In other places, such as in the Pacific era, or the Pacific Rim rather, they're calling it PCLC or IAPD. We're working together with all of the various organizations to support their effort. And again, we have many clergy from various parts of the world, and our hope is that we could really work together with your clergy and the clergy in America to really support the activities in your countries. So I just wanted to conclude with something that I feel is very significant. And Father Moon mentioned this on a number of occasions, that North America really represents Protestantism, and Central and of course South America or Latin America really represents Catholicism. And for many of us, we understand that there has been a big challenge between Catholicism and Protestantism. And in fact, 500-year memorial, or the 500th year since Martin Luther and the work that he did in pinning his 95 Theses on the Church of Wittenberg, we understand that something had to be done. And Father Moon was very specific in really speaking about the unity between these two regions, these two continents, and so recently we just met with, and I think many of you might know, but Bishop Munab Yunan, he actually, he's the one right in the middle here. He was the Catholic, or sorry, the Lutheran head of the Lutheran, Bishops Association, and he set up a meeting, the Bishop Emeritus of the Evangelical Lutheran Church, and he was the former president of the Lutheran world. And so what he did was he decided if it's possible to meet with the Pope Francis, and actually have a very, very historic meeting together to reconcile after 500 years. They both actually repented, came together to make a new beginning. So we just celebrated him coming to New York. We had a dinner with him, and he actually shared. He's an incredible man. He'll be speaking next month for the Wclc, and I hope someday that he can also speak together with our Protestant and our Catholic clergy together to really help to heal and reconcile. So this was the meeting that took place. It was a small meeting, but very historic, that we had in New York. The founding of PCLC, and they were truly they are doing great work in the Pacific Islands, and so we're really trying to support them as well. So again, I want to thank you on behalf of the staff, on Dr. Ki-Hoon Kim, Dr. Tanya Edwards, who's the Director of International Affairs, and our administrator and my assistant, Minister Hiraki Holmes. We really want to do our best to say thank you, and we want to really use the diaspora, use the foundation over the 22 years that we just celebrated the American Clergy Leadership Conference. We want to use that foundation to really serve Central America and the Caribbean islands. Thank you so much, and look forward to working together and doing great things together. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Gardner. And especially thank you for inspiring us with the story of Bishop Yunnan, who could bring the reconciliation between the Protestant and the Catholics. In fact, Reverend and Mrs. Moon have been thinking a lot, even here in the America, between North and South America. South America, the Latin America is a majority Catholic. North America is a majority Protestant. So always it has been the dream of Reverend and Mrs. Moon to bring the North and the North America and Latin America together, reconciling also Catholicism and Protestantism in the America. Thank you very much for also introducing about the World Clergy Leadership Conference. And we wish you great success, and we hope we can cooperate also together. And I would like to introduce our next panelist. He is Reverend Dr. Joseph Raj. He is a priest of Roman Catholic Church in St. Lucia. He is also a moral theologian, a canon lawyer, and appointed judicial vicar for the Archdiocese of St. Lucia. And I must precise that the Archdiocese of St. Lucia, in fact, oversees all the other small countries like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Commonwealth of Dominica, Antigua, and St. Kitts and Nevis. So surely they keep you very busy. Please, Father Raj, welcome.
Thank you, moderator, Reverend Remy Topia, Dr. Charles Young, President of the UPC, honorable members of the panel, good evening, buenas noches, and buonasera a tutti. We are one human family under God, unearthing the plan of God for man in family, the bedrock of society, enables us to comprehend the values of life and how human life and human beings are important in the sight of God and one another. Men and women are equal partners in the human race, and God has given them equal share in his covenant of love. When God blessed man, he invited him to share in the mystery of God's image, meaning God invited freely man and woman to participate responsibly in the work of creation, which consists in the awesome task of transmitting new life in family, and thus parents cooperate in a unique way in the Creator's work. The image of family and God can be seen as having diverse functions in the scripture. The family can be seen as a symbol of alliance and fidelity with God, as seen in Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 28. The family is represented as a pattern of marriage with God and Israel. We can read this in the chapter 16 of Ezekiel. The prophet Malachi says that family is a gift filled with a spousal love of God. We read in chapter 2, verses 4 to 5 of Malachi. And the prophet Hosea speaks of the family in the context of marriage as a prophetic symbol of the covenant between God and the people of Israel, chapter 2, verses 2 to 8. The plan of God for man is to form proper families, and that the church teaches us that through the sacrament of marriage, true families can be built on and formed in the manner God wants. That a man and a woman would form a one flesh union through marriage, and with their children become a family, which is the essential building block of human society. There is already an indication of sacredness and holiness, purpose and divine vocation in the primordial blessing of the union of man and woman, which is to be perpetuated through the sacrament of marriage. Family, which is considered to be the backbone and vital cell of church and society, according to the teaching of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, is too often dishonored by selfishness and by a culture of death. The weakening of faith and religious practices due to culture influence in some societies has an adverse effect on families, leaving them more isolated in their difficulties. There is a feeling of powerlessness in the face of socio-cultural realities and ethnic cultural practices that often end up crushing even good families. People do not appreciate the value of the sacrament of marriage, and a disregard for the concept of marriage and family has crept in the society, thus causing great concern for proper family structures. Secularism has drained out the nature and the concept of morality from people's lives, and that has resulted in an uncontrolled freedom. Families often feel left abandoned for lack of support and interest on the part of institutions, says the current Holy Father, Pope Francis, in his encyclical Amoris Laetitia, which is the joy of love. The current problems facing the families emerge from the lack of understanding of the nature and purpose of marriage as intended by God. Our families will always remain a pointer for many purposes and references. We are identified and presented and pointed out in the society, always with reference to family. The family should be the first school of love and peace. Love is cherished by members of the family, and they are taught to share the same love. Pope John Paul II states in number 17 of the Apostolic Exhortation, Familiaris Consatio, and I quote, "The family finds in the plan of God, Creator and the Redeemer, not only its identity, what it is, but also its mission, what it can and should do. The role that God calls the family to perform in history derives from what the family is. Its role represents the dynamic and existential development of what it is. Each family finds within itself a summons that cannot be ignored and that specifies both its dignity and its responsibility. Family, become what you are." And I end the quote. Vatican Council II in Lumen Gentium states that from the wedlock of a Christian marriage, there comes the birth of a family in which the new citizens of the society are born. Therefore, marriage is a permanent union established for the whole life. We have evidences from the scripture justifying this position. From the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. We read this in Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, in Mark's Gospel, chapter 10, verse 7, and in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 31. And Jesus confirmed it. What God has united, man must not divide. Mark chapter 10, verse 9. On a higher level, Jesus established a new family that is no longer formed through biological descent, but with their personal call to keep the commandment of love. This extension is demonstrated in the Last Supper as the new seal of alliance and concrete founding of a new family. This new family is drawn from every culture, tribe, people, and language. Revelation chapter 7, verse 9. Being part of this family entices the necessity for the proclamation of the joy of the gospel, which has to do a lot with creative truth of love and showing enormous of the familial community to respond to problems and difficulties and transform them into an occasion for greater union among its members and create a culture for peace, uniting nations and countries across the world. Thus, this family of love is to work and promote peace among the nations by doing God's will of spreading his peace and building bridges of harmony and culture of peace. Pope Francis believes that the strength of family lies in its capacity to love and teach others how to love. In the family, we first learn how to show love and respect for life. We are taught the proper use of things, order and cleanliness, respect for the local ecosystem, and care for all creatures. The family founded on marriage is truly the sanctuary of life. St. John Paul II says that our homes become a school of communion, and in a special way, the family is called to promote a spirituality of communion, which enables us to accept everyone as brothers and sisters. The Christian family is called to participate in the threefold mission of Christ, namely priestly, kingly, and prophetic, and become an instrument, an effective means of evangelization in the modern world. The family is often called a miniature church or a domestic church, representing and reproducing the values of love and peace of Christ. Families as instruments of God form the people of God in the church and create societies. The future of societies, both civil and religious, as St. Paul says correctly and argues correctly, passes through family. Calling for personal responsibility in God's plan, in Populorum Progressive, Pope Paul VI advocates for man to seek self-fulfillment, and every human is called for some special task by God, that using his talent and willpower, each man grown in humanity, enhance his personal worth and perfect himself. It is through families that societies develop values and traditions are shaped and transmitted into the next generations. Man is not really himself, except with the framework of society, and families play the role of formation. If families fail, then societies fail. Good families form good societies, and by extension, good societies form good nations across the world. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Raj. And I like your idea to remind us that the family is like a domestic church, miniature church. And I really believe this is the first place where God wants to dwell, is really at home in the family. Thank you very much, Father Raj. And now we are going to have our last panelist. Okay, let me find that paper. Yes. This is Pastor Wilbert Alexis Amaya. He is the founder of the Evangelical Christian Church Advance the Light in Santa Fe, Colón, Honduras. He is also the founder of the movement Prayer Chain for America that brings together pastors from El Salvador, Honduras, Colombia, Panama, Nicaragua, United States, Peru, Mexico, Cuba, Argentina, and Chile, from everywhere almost. He is married to the co-pastor Liliana de Amaya. Welcome, Pastor Wilbert Amaya. Welcome. Thank you for being with us.
Muy buenas tardes a todos, qué gusto poder saludarles, es un privilegio poder estar con ustedes en el día de hoy. Agradezco a Dios por el privilegio que me permite de compartir con un grupo tan selecto de hombres y mujeres a través de este medio. Me ha encantado escucharles a cada uno en el día de hoy, disfrutar del conocimiento, ¿verdad? De ese bagaje de información que pues hemos adquirido a través de los años, de las experiencias, de los estudios y sobre todo de las vivencias personales. Así que en este día pues me siento muy agradecido con todo el equipo que está pues trabajando para que este evento se lleve a cabo el día de hoy. Gracias por tomarnos en cuenta, gracias a todos, ¿verdad? Especialmente a un hermano por ahí, Remberto de Honduras, que también pues me invitó a ser parte de este tiempo. Bueno, yo he oído bastante acerca de lo que han hablado, también quiero dar mi apreciación. Creo que lo que tengo que compartir hoy nada más es para reafirmar muchas de las cosas que ya se hablaron, que ya dijeron, y pues yo quería expresar algunas ideas. Mi deseo en el día de hoy es expresar algunas ideas que considero muy importantes con relación a este tema. Dios y la familia, fundamentos para la paz. Realmente creo que el tema de esta conferencia es la conclusión a la que todos al final llegamos en el día de hoy, porque definitivamente no podemos hablar de paz sin pensar en Dios y sin pensar en la familia. Oiga bien, yo quiero decirles algunas cosas en el día de hoy. No podemos hablar de paz sin pensar en Dios. ¿Sabe por qué? Porque Dios, oiga bien, Dios es paz. Dios es paz. Lo repito una vez más. ¿Por qué? Porque definitivamente tenemos que entender que no podemos obtener la paz genuina sin ir a la fuente de la paz. Algunos creen que Dios tiene paz. No es que Dios tenga paz, sino que Él es la fuente de la paz. La verdadera paz se encuentra en Dios. Oiga bien, paz, otra cosa que quiero decir en el día de hoy, es que paz no es la ausencia de guerra o problema, sino mantener la compostura en medio de un ambiente de adversidad. Creo que esa es la verdadera paz. Hay gente que dice o cree que la paz es cuando nada malo, cuando no hay ninguna preocupación, cuando todo está bien. No, yo creo firmemente que la paz no solamente es eso, sino que la verdadera paz es poder estar con la compostura correcta en medio del ambiente difícil. En los momentos duros, en los momentos difíciles es donde se descubre quién verdaderamente tiene paz. Porque cualquiera puede tener paz mientras hay dinero en el bolsillo. Cualquiera puede tener paz mientras todas sus necesidades están suplidas. Pero solamente la gente que tiene a Dios en el corazón es que puede tener esa paz cuando aún todo se ha ido. Un ejemplo muy hermoso de esto es la historia de Job en la Biblia. Job fue un hombre que lo perdió todo. Oiga bien, en medio de todo lo que había perdido, nunca perdió su paz. Él estuvo en paz con Dios. Por eso, oiga bien, fue que él logró restaurar toda la situación difícil que estaba viviendo. Otra cosa importante que quiero decirles es que todo el mundo quiere paz. Oiga bien, y no la encuentra porque la buscan en el lugar o en las cosas equivocadas. Hay gente que cree que la paz la producen los bienes materiales, que la produce el tener buena salud, el verme bien, el que la gente me ame, el que la gente me quiera. La verdadera paz se encuentra, oiga bien, en el lugar correcto. ¿Cuál es el lugar correcto? Oiga bien, quiero que vea esto. La verdadera paz solo se encuentra en Cristo. Oiga bien, porque su paz, oiga bien, va más allá de los argumentos o expectativas humanas. Yo quiero hoy tomar mi Biblia en esta hora, quiero tomar mi Biblia en el día de hoy y leer una porción de la palabra de Dios en el libro de San Juan, en el capítulo 14, versículo, oiga bien, 27, dice así: la paz os dejo, mi paz os doy, dice Jesús. Yo no la doy como el mundo la da. No se turbe vuestro corazón, ni tenga miedo. Oiga bien, qué interesante. Jesús dijo, en medio de la situación difícil que sus discípulos estaban pasando, oiga bien, antes de él ir al Padre, antes de él ser crucificado, Cristo se toma el tiempo para hablar con sus discípulos. Y él le dijo, mi paz os doy, mis paz os dejo. Yo no la doy como el mundo la da. ¿Cómo da el mundo? ¿Cómo da el ambiente la paz mientras tenemos todo a nuestra mano? Oiga bien, por eso Cristo dice, yo les puedo dar una paz que aún en medio de toda la adversidad, ustedes pueden mantener la compostura. Oiga bien, y esto es lo otro que quiero decirles, la familia, otra cosa muy importante porque estamos hablando acerca de Dios y la familia. Y lo otro es que la familia debe de ser la primera o es precisamente la primera institución donde el ser humano aprende a vivir en paz. Debería de ser la familia ese lugar sagrado donde el ser humano aprende a vivir en paz. Oiga bien, cuando en nuestra familia no hemos aprendido a tener paz, no vamos a tener paz en ningún otro lugar. Cuando hemos aprendido a cuidar la paz del hogar, la paz de la familia, cuando los padres luchan para que en su casa reine la paz y que sus hijos vivan en un ambiente de paz. No estamos hablando de un ambiente aislado, fuera, oiga bien, fuera de las dificultades. No, en medio de la dificultad aprendemos en la familia a tener paz. Eso convierte a la persona, al niño que crece en ese hogar, en una persona, oiga bien, que en el futuro, en su vida de adulto, comienza, oiga bien, a ser diferente. Comienza y vive una vida diferente. Así que la familia es el primer lugar donde uno va practicando el vivir en paz. Porque hay muchas guerras, porque hay muchos problemas, porque hay muchos conflictos por ahí. porque precisamente si hay algo que no nos enseñan es aprender a buscar la paz. Oiga bien, otra cosa muy importante que quiero compartir en el día de hoy es que hoy en día hay una batalla constante en contra de la familia. Oiga bien esto, la globalización, la tecnología, los múltiples afanes por lograr nuestros sueños y metas personales, oiga, son la estrategia que el diablo está usando hoy en día para destruir la paz familiar. El hombre, el ser humano, en busca de todas aquellas cosas buenas, en busca de estar bien, en busca de ese, oiga bien, el estar bien, pone en contrapeso a la familia. La familia está siendo bombardeada, la familia está siendo atacada constantemente. Muchos, oiga bien, están trabajando para que la paz familiar no perdure y de esa manera se abra puertas para la autodestrucción. El ser humano se autodestruye cuando rompe, cuando, oiga bien, acaba con su paz personal. Oiga bien, y cuando busca el estar bien consigo mismo. Yo quiero que veamos algo más. Cuando en casa aprendimos a vivir en paz, podemos, oiga bien, y procuramos vivir bien, vivir en esa paz. Por eso es que la familia es la clave. Muchos de los problemas sociales, muchos de los problemas, oiga bien, mundiales que se están dando es precisamente por la ausencia de paz. Hay una ausencia grande de paz en el interior del corazón del ser humano. Por eso tenemos que aprender a entender esto, que la verdadera paz solo se encuentra en Cristo Jesús. Solo Cristo puede darnos la paz, la tranquilidad en medio de lo que sea que estemos viviendo. La paz no se trata de aceptar lo bueno y lo malo para estar bien o simple y sencillamente mantener los ojos cerrados y no se trata de eso, sino que se trata de aprender a corregir lo malo para estar verdaderamente bien. Hay gente que dice, yo mejor me hago el de la vista ciega para no ver, para no hacer notar lo que está mal y estar en paz. No. Esa no es la verdadera manera de buscar la paz. Buscar la paz es, oiga bien, sobre todo siempre buscar y resaltar las cosas buenas que vemos a nuestro alrededor, de las cosas buenas que están sucediendo en nuestro entorno. Pero tenemos que entender también que cuando algo malo surge, tenemos que resolverlo de la manera correcta para que la paz no se pierda. Oiga bien esto, quiero que leamos una porción más. Quiero leer para usted en el día de hoy una porción más de la palabra de Dios. Porque cuando hemos crecido en un ambiente de paz, nos es fácil convertirnos en pacificadores. La Biblia, nosotros en el libro de Mateo, nos habla acerca de la importancia de ser pacificadores. Quiero leer en esta hora, esta porción. En el libro de Mateo capítulo 5, Jesús dijo algo. Oiga bien, Jesús dijo algo en Mateo 5, versículo 9, que quiero que retomemos en el día de hoy. Bienaventurados los pacificadores, porque ellos serán llamados hijos de Dios. Oiga bien, ellos serán llamados hijos de Dios. Bienaventurados los agentes de paz. Nosotros tenemos que aprender a ser agentes de paz. Agentes de un ambiente, oiga bien, que permita que el ser humano pueda convivir. El problema es que muchas veces nos enfocamos en las diferencias y no en las cualidades o las similitudes que tenemos. Una de las cosas que disfruto en esta noche es precisamente poder escuchar y la apreciación de varios en el día de hoy, oiga bien, y poder ver que todos coincidimos en algo muy importante, en que Dios es la fuente de la paz. Y esas son las cosas que debemos de permitir que cada día nos permitan, oiga bien, nos ayuden a mantenernos unidos y en paz. El que yo sea de Honduras, otro de otros países, el que yo sea de una raza y el otro de otra raza, no debemos de ver las diferencias, ver precisamente las cosas que tenemos en común. Eso es lo que la Biblia nos enseña también en el libro de los Hechos, acerca de los primeros cristianos, los primeros hijos de Dios que fueron surgiendo en aquel entonces, que tenían en común todas las cosas. Yo creo que eso es lo que va permitiendo que la paz vaya cobrando fuerza cada día. Hoy hablamos de guerras por aquí, guerras por allá, algo que la Biblia ya había, que Dios mismo ya había hablado, que Jesús ya había profetizado muchos años atrás. Se había hablado siempre de esas guerras. Y en medio de las guerras que se van levantando entre una nación y la otra, tenemos que aprender a mantener la paz. Oiga bien, quiero que veamos algo más en el día de hoy. Antes de finalizar mi participación, una buena relación con Jesús me permite vivir en paz con Dios. Oiga bien, cuando yo aprendo a tener una buena relación personal con Jesús, entonces yo me convierto en una persona que reflejo la paz, que manifiesto la paz donde quiera que yo voy, donde quiera que yo me encuentro. Cada vez que un conflicto se presenta, oiga bien, yo por la paz que hay en mi interior, es el primer paso para resolver el conflicto, para resolver cualquier problema, para evitar cualquier guerra. Tenemos que aprender primeramente a no perder la paz. Por eso la estrategia del diablo, oiga bien, la estrategia del enemigo, oiga bien, es precisamente romper y acabar con la paz. Y pues para ir finalizando, dice, vea que teniendo nosotros en el libro de Romanos, voy finalizando en esta hora, solo quiero leer una última porción de las Sagradas Escrituras en el libro de Romanos, capítulo 5, verso 11, dice así la palabra de Dios. No, y no solo esto, sino que también nos gloriamos. No, aquí es capítulo 11 de Romanos. Capítulo 5, verso 1. Justificados pues para con Dios, tenemos paz para con Dios por medio de nuestro Señor Jesucristo. Justificados pues por la fe, tenemos paz para con Dios. Yo creo que es lo que necesitamos, aprender a tener paz con Dios. Cuando hemos aprendido a tener paz con Dios, oiga bien, nuestra vida toma una ruta diferente. Oiga bien, esa paz con Dios solo la podemos tener a través de Cristo Jesús. La paz es un bien, es un tesoro que merece ser buscado con diligencia. Por eso la palabra de Dios nos dice, busca la paz, busca la paz. Tenemos que andar todos los días en busca de esa paz conmigo mismo, esa paz con Dios, esa paz en la casa, en la familia, esa paz en el trabajo, esa paz donde quiera que vayamos. No permitamos que nada nos robe la paz. Oiga bien, y cuando algo venga con el fin de robar nuestra paz, tenemos que tener la actitud correcta y vencer. El mundo está lleno, oiga bien, estará siempre buscando esa paz, pero esa paz solo en Dios la podemos encontrar. El mundo estará sin paz mientras Dios no sea, oiga bien, el centro de la vida del ser humano. Mientras le demos la espalda a Dios, mientras no queramos tener a Dios, oiga bien, en el centro de nuestra vida, no vamos, por más que queramos, por más que trabajemos en buscar nuestra paz, no la vamos a encontrar. Así que para mí ha sido un privilegio. Soy el pastor Wilber Amaya desde Santa Fe, Colón, Honduras. Y gracias a cada uno por el tiempo, por la oportunidad y por la atención prestada en esta hora. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Pastor Wilbert, for your passion to express your heart. So we are coming to the end of this session. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. And we have a great panelists. We had a Muslim and a Catholic and Protestant. How great it is that we could share our view and learn from each other. So thank you for participating. I don't know if Eliezer, do you want to take a photo? I don't know if Eliezer wanted to take a photo of everyone.
Okay, let's take.
Good.
Okay, so everybody there.
Okay, I did.
You did?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So thank you very much. I think each one of our distinguished panelists, anyway, let's keep in touch. And also in your nation, you can work with UPF, your local chapter of UPF in your country. Continue to work with each one of your chapter. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for all the viewers who joined us this evening. And may God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Gracias a cada uno. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's a nice picture. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Gardner.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Really nice to see you.
Salam
Thank you,
alaikum.
Imam. Thank you.
Yes, salam
Thank
alaikum.
you, Ahmad, Imam.
Walaikum salam.
I know your community in New York very well.
Oh,
Very
okay.
nice.
Yeah.
One day we must do that in presential.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes, it's good.
Thank you, Eliezer, for your hard work for the technical side.
Thank you, Eliezer. Thank you.
Bye, good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Gracias, Imam. Saludos a
Igual,
Panamá.
igualmente.